Welcome to the final day in remake week here on the post-Shriek out reaction. I'm Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And it's appropriate that we go out with the most remakey remake that ever remake. This is the 1990 Night of the Living Dead, and I have always had a unique connection to this film because I love the original Night of the Living Dead. I saw this before I saw the original. This was actually one of the very first zombie films I watched. This thing came on like HBO when I was like 13 or something, and I watched this and it messed me up. And this is really the first time that I have returned to this since I saw it as a kid, even though I've watched the original Night of the Living Dead multiple times. And by the way, we should go ahead and clarify, I watched this, she did not. But I watched the original Night of the Living Dead multiple times at this point. Never returned to the remake because I always thought to myself, yeah, it's probably not that good. But then I was looking around at reviews of it. It actually got pretty good reviews. Most people actually did like the remake. Not as much as the original, obviously, but people still were pretty positive on this thing. And I started watching the film, and it slowly dawned on me, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to say about this movie because it is so just the original film. I mean, yes, they do have it happening in the modern day and age, but the modern day and age was the 1990s, so it's not like anybody was carrying around cell phones. I mean, there were cell phones, but it wasn't a common thing back then. It's not like the internet was a thing back then. So it's still people holed up in a farmhouse for the entire film. Nothing's really changed. All the characters are exactly the same. They all do the exact same things.
Now I'm expecting like another Night of the Living Dead remake, like for this century or like this decade.
That's the exact same film again. The zombies take out the cell phone towers and the internet, so it's like, all right, well, the only thing that would have made a difference, gone right now. But there are definitely some changes. And it remained the same for the very beginning. It opens up exactly the same with Barbara and her brother going off to visit their mother's grave. And I will say this. In the original, you don't really hear anything until they get out of the car and they have this quick exchange. Here, you hear them arguing all the way up to the cemetery. And it actually was a very like brotherly, sisterly argument about how it's like, oh, Mom never wanted us to bury her in that place. Yeah, well, Mom never really had anything to do with this. Oh, well, you know, we had to do this for Dad. Oh, well, I don't care about that. And back and forth and back and forth. And it definitely had that feeling of these are two people who have known each other for a very long time. These are definitely family members. So, okay, there's already like a little bit of something deeper happening here. But after that, it is exactly like the zombies that appear are the exact same zombies. In the exact same order, happening at the exact same time. She goes running to the farmhouse, and she finds some zombies in there. She finds someone upstairs. And then Tony Todd shows up playing Ben, and I remember loving Ben in this remake. And now watching it again, Tony Todd is overacting his ass off in this, but everyone is overacting their ass off in this. This film was directed by Tom Savini, the legendary makeup artist. And I think this is one of the only things he's ever actually directed. I'm sure he's done a lot of other stuff that I've never even heard of, a lot of like B movies out there. But I think this is one of the first things, or at least probably like the biggest thing that he's directed. And it does kind of strike me as somebody who just has a massive love for B movies, of people wildly exaggerating everything. Because in the original, Ben was this very like stoic, very like stone face. He was very serious about everything. He was that guy, even though this film was made in 1968, he was the typical like 1950s protagonist that when someone acts up, he slaps him across the face and is like, you calm down now. But he is definitely being a bit more exaggerated. But when he has to also like calm Barbara down, when he has to actually be like personal with someone, he's got a lot more humanity to him. Because Ben in the original, he was very much the stoic hero of the entire thing. But here you get some softer moments to Ben, contrasted with his bigger, angrier moments in there as well. I gotta say, Tony Todd yelling his ass off at Cooper, the asshole in the basement who would not let anyone in. One of the better moments in this entire film, when he is just losing his shit with Cooper. But there's also moments in here, and they're very small moments too. Like there's a moment in which he meets Tom, who is, I don't even think in the original you get much on Tom. He's the young kid who has a girlfriend, and they're also there trapped in the barnhouse. Not barnhouse, but the farmhouse. I don't think they got much of him in the original. In this one, they definitely stop and go into details about how yeah, this was my uncle's place, and I've lived here with my family, and we came here after things started going wrong, and they had already been turned. And he really goes into detail with this. And there's a moment in here before you even find out about how Tom is connected to any of the zombies that they found in the house, in which Tony Todd is just looking through all the drawers in here. He is searching around trying to find bullets or anything that they can use against there, and he opens up a drawer and he finds a photo in there. And they hold on for just like 1 second. It is quick, but it is clearly a photo of one of the zombies that they killed in there, but as a human. And I thought, oh man, that's actually really good. That's actually like, it gives us that brief moment to remind the audience these were actual people not that long ago. I like that. However, this film, it is more explosive, I guess, with the performances. Not like, special effects. It's not like they're a giant burst of explosions everywhere. There's one, but it was one that happened in the original as well. So, but yeah, everybody is way more whatever they were in the original. Whatever
like
you're
exaggerated versions.
Exaggerated, thank you. Yes, whatever you were meant to be, this is going to be an exaggerated version of you. And it takes away a little bit of the humanity behind not humanity, but it takes away a little bit of the seriousness of this. It takes away some of the drama in here. It does not make this feel as, I was going to say it doesn't make it feel as dark, but no, this film is actually very dark. I would even argue that it's a little bit darker than the original with some of the things that happen to characters in here when everything starts to change. But it does make it hard for you to take this seriously and to look at this as actual people trapped in this house rather than actors performing something. But as I said, there are the brief moments that you see Ben interacting with Tom, and those little tiny moments in there in which they're just two guys working together to solve this. It actually made you feel a connection between them, even though they had just met. But it gave you that feeling of kind of brothers in a bad situation, kind of like, we're in this together, so we're here, we're partners on this thing. I like that. Like, there is one moment, it is such a small moment in here, but they're trying to hammer something up, and Tom, jumps on, and he's like, good boy, good, and he's just like, yeah, and because you can tell he's an older guy, he's a younger guy, so he's coming in here, and he's treating him, even though there is a difference in age, but he's giving him that congratulation, like, way to go, buddy, like that little thing. It's a very small line read, and I don't think the director, gave him any instructions on this. I think that was just solely Tony Todd's acting chops coming out there. So yeah, I do like some of the stuff that they do with these characters, but because they were so much more exaggerated, it does make it harder to kind of not root them on, but harder to
connect with them?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, you are here to help me with this stuff. The big one being Cooper, by the way. Because Cooper was an asshole in the original. He is such a bigger asshole in this one. He was an asshole, but you could get that sense that he was doing all this because he didn't know what was going on, and he was very concerned, and he didn't want anyone else telling him what to do when his daughter was sick down there in the cellar. And also, because this was 1968, and because Ben was a black man and he was white, there was also this unspoken level of possible racism in there. But that was purely unintentional because George Romero did not write anybody's race into the script. He just interviewed actors, and whoever he thought was the best choice for the roles, he gave them the roles. But it was one of those things where because they ended up casting black man as Ben in 1968, many of the scenes in that film do take on a secondary meaning. But in this film, Cooper is a cartoon character. And that is a bit of a problem in here. He is a joke at times. There's a moment in the original where he refers to them as yo-yos. I think I remember him doing that in the original. In this one, he brings up that line, you're all a bunch of yo-yos! Those yo-yos up there! He keeps saying that over and over again, like it's supposed to be his catchphrase. And it gets to a point where you just go, I do not believe this is a real man at all. And it hurts this movie so bad when the guy who is your main human antagonist in here loses a lot of the seriousness behind him. Although I will say, I have often said that Cooper is one of the biggest pieces of shit in horror history. He is one of the biggest, not intentional villains, because I guess the zombies are the villains, but if you just want to go the biggest assholes in a horror movie, Cooper has always been one of them. This guy is an even bigger asshole. There are moments in here in which you want to leap into the screen and just choke that man out because he is screwing things up so badly at times. And there are moments where you're supposed to feel for him when he's screwing things up. Like towards the end of this film, this is one of the things that they do different in this film. Towards the end of this film, his daughter ends up turning into a zombie, which that happens in the original as well. But if memory serves me correct, it's been many years since I've seen this, but if memory serves me correct, she turns into a zombie and she attacks the two of them. In this one, she turns into a zombie, attacks the mom, but in this one, when she comes out of the cellar, the dad will not attack her. But the zombie also doesn't attack him, and they're going, Cooper, shoot her, shoot her. No, it's my daughter. I can't do that. And then this is the big change that they did. Cooper then shoots Ben. He ends up shooting Ben because Ben's about to shoot his daughter. And then they actually have like a shootout there in the house between the two of them. Like the two of them like chasing after each other trying to shoot. That takes a lot of I know it's supposed to be tense, but it's not tense in the way that this film is supposed to be or the rest of this film has been. So it doesn't fit in this film. And that is another problem that this remake does have. But that was a big change, that Cooper ends up killing Ben in this one. Well, sort of. We'll get into that in just a second. But in that moment, you're supposed to look at him and go like, yeah, man, you can't ask this guy to kill his daughter. But because Cooper has been such a cartoon character throughout this entire film, I didn't feel that. And it is kind of a problem in this movie. But here's the big change that they made in this. In the original, Barbara is out of it for this entire film. She has had just a huge stress attack after what has happened to her, which understandably so. She's seen the dead come back to life. She witnessed her brother die. She's out of it throughout this entire film. She's like catatonic throughout the rest of this film. So for the original film, she spends most of the time just sitting there on the couch, just she like can barely do anything. I remember in the original film, there was a moment in which they're trying to keep a door shut or trying to board up the windows, and she's just sitting over there, just, and then she looks up, and then she finally stands up and runs in to try and help him. I remember that being like a stand-up and cheer moment because she had just been sitting there the entire time, unable to do anything, and finally she found the strength to at least do something. So yeah, it was a build-up. It was a nice execution there. In this one, she's kind of, I don't know what's going on there in the beginning. But because this was made in 1990, the age of Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor, she becomes the #1 badass in this film. Which, by the way, not opposed to, you changing that and making her the #1 badass, but it is so transparent that that's what they were trying to do. Because she becomes a fucking action hero with like no backstory or to like any of this. Like as soon as she starts like handling a gun, you see her like going there, yeah, like just blasting away.
So like basically all the characters in the remake are just like more cartoony versions of themselves.
A little bit more, yeah, they're all more cartoony versions except for Barbara, who is completely different. And again, you want to come in here and make her like actually do stuff in this film? Great, awesome. But I mean, there is a moment in which I've mentioned this before. We even mentioned this in the post-Shriek reaction from last week when we were talking about Banana Splits. That, yeah, they had to do that thing with the mom and Banana Splits where it's like, okay, time for you to be the action hero. Rip off your shirt and you got the tank top underneath. They don't just do that. Before she rips her shirt off to reveal the tank top underneath, she rips off her skirt and puts on like a big baggy pair of cargo pants. So she even does like the whole transformation sequence twice in this film.
Takes off her high heels and puts on boots. Like
they did everything but that in this film. They might even have done it while I was looking away from the screen.
With the bandana on, just like
that's like the only thing they didn't do because she is walking around like. At the end of this film, she is walking around with like not only carrying guns and the tank top, she's even got like the bandolier on and everything. It is wild how much of a change she has. Because I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to say that she snapped and this is how she's dealing with it. Because there's so many moments in which Ben is trying to tell her, we can't. No, that's not the smart decision. Because she's saying, look how slow they are. We can just go out there and we can just walk around them. We can just walk right past them and we won't even have to run. And Ben's there going, that's a really dumb idea. So I think they're trying to imply that she basically snapped. Which is the only explanation that you can really have because, as I said, I don't have a problem with her taking more of an active role of her fighting back, But no one else in this movie is an action hero because they're trying to not make this an action hero movie. The Night of the Living Dead is not meant to be an action movie. Night of the Living Dead is not meant to be an action hero movie. It is meant to be a movie about very realistic characters trapped inside this house. So when you suddenly have Ripley or Sarah Connor pop up in this thing, it feels out of place. And also, her change is like that. So if they're trying to say that she snapped from the stress, that's the only real explanation. Because she goes from, oh my God, what's happening? What's happening? We should just go out there and take them all right now. What? It is such a weird shift, and man, it's one of those things where, again, part of the problem is that it's so transparent what they were trying to do. They were trying to take advantage of the badass action lady hero of the 1990s craze, which was a good craze. I'm all in favor of it, but man, yeah, it just did not fit in this movie. However, aside from that, everything else that goes down is exactly the same. But there are two things that happen towards the end. Actually, there's three things that happen towards the end. One of which I know what they were going for, but I don't think it's better than what happened in the original for the commentary that they were trying to make. Mm-hmm. But there are two other very quick scenes in here at the end that I love. And I will stand by saying, you know what, if you want to come in here, you can make all the arguments you want about how this is not as good as the original. I have made several of them in this video itself. But there are two scenes at the end of this that I actually think are great, and they're not in the original. Or if they are in the original, they're not nearly like they are in this one. One of them is that after Ben has been shot, and Ben is like, I can't go. I can't. And everyone else is dead. Ben's the only one left alive, and he's just there. No, I can't. I'm sorry. And then she's torn, and Barbara's just torn. She's like, I'm sorry, because she knows that she can't take him. It's a heartbreaking scene. And she goes running out of there, and you see her out there in the field, not even running, just walking, with the zombies just barely walking around them. And she's just putting the gun up to try and get them to get away, but they're so unresponsive. And again, she doesn't have to run, she just has to walk. And she's like trying to hold back tears. And then this little girl comes up there holding a doll and just, and she just looks at her and just, oh God. And she just starts breaking down and crying, holding this gun at the kid's head. I love that scene. I really do. It is also one of the bad special effects in the film. Tom Savini is an amazing special effects guy, but this is one of the bad ones because she does shoot the kid, and you just see like go out of the back of her wig. Like nothing blows out of the back, just the hair goes. It was one of the poor examples in this film. Also, the sound design in this film is kind of bad. There's a lot of gunshots in here that do not sound appropriate for like where we are with the camera to where the gun is. Sounds like they happen way further away from the camera. Like for example, there's a moment in which Barbara, now that she's turned into chief badass, she jams the gun out there at a zombie. You see a zombie hand coming through the window. She jams the gun in there, and then she just pulls it. Like it is so clear the gun did not actually fire. She just jerked it back to make that motion, because the sound effect does not match up with it at all. And there's small stuff like that. But the other scene that I absolutely love in here is after Ben has been shot and now the zombies are pouring into the house, he's trying to walk away from them to get to the cellar, which is what happens in the original, except he hasn't been shot. But everyone else is dead, and he escapes into the cellar where he spent the entire time saying, we're not going down in that cellar. That cellar is the last resort. And in the original, it was now the last resort. He had to do it. Now in this one, he goes running, he's trying to hobble away from them. And he's now moving as slow as the zombies. So now it's not like Barbara out there in the field trying to get and just walking around them. He's barely getting past these guys because he's moving so slow, and they're filling up the house. The house is now instantly jam-packed full of these things. He gets into the cellar and he goes downstairs and he puts on the radio and he's just listening to the radio people talk about what's happening. And he just starts searching through his pocket for a cigarette, and he just starts bursting out laughing, just and you can tell he has just lost it at this point. And I don't remember if this was in the original. I've completely forgotten whether or not this was in the original, but I love this moment. I know that him like laughing, listening to the radio, that wasn't in the original. But this scene, I don't think it was in the original, but I love this. They went out to try and get gas, and they found the keys, and they go up there and they try and get the gas, but it's the wrong key, so they have to try and shoot the lock off. but that causes the gas to explode and it kills two of the survivors. He's down there in the basement, he's holding his guts together, he's smoking a cigarette, and he looks over, he sees the keys in the basement where Cooper would not let them in, and it just says gas on there, and he just burst out laughing in that, like, I'm done, I am out laugh, and I love that scene. Again, I don't remember if Ben in the original found the keys in the basement. But I don't remember it. This I definitely remember. Even as a kid, I always remember this scene. But the other big change they make, and this is the one that I don't think is as good as the original. Because in the original, Ben survives, and he comes out the next night, and the next day, with all the zombies gone. And he pokes his head out, and then you see like the militia guys who are going around killing all the zombies. They then come up to the house, and they look in there, and Ben pokes his head out, and they go, all right, just take your shot, and then they shoot and they kill Ben. And I always thought that was just such a chilling thing to go out on, that he survived this, and man is what killed him in the end. I thought that was a great way to go out. And again, 1968, you have a bunch of white militia guys kill a black guy in here. It was a statement. It was not one that George Romero wrote into the script, but it gave this film a weight. It gave it a message in there about the times that other films weren't even making. And it happened in a freaking horror film at the time. But in this one, she goes right to try and escape, and she runs into a bunch of good old boys. And they're killing up the zombies. And she passes out, and she wakes up the next morning, and they're now back at the house. And it's nothing but just redneck good old boys having like a tailgate party. There's food trucks out there. There's literal food trucks. I didn't even notice that as a kid, but apparently, yeah, there are people out there who are just going and finding zombie parties. And this is the day after this happened, and they're instantly selling them food. And you see them like hanging the zombies by the neck in trees and shooting them just for fun. Just, yeah, you got them right there, boy. And they've got like a fence up there where they have two of the zombies fighting each other and just cheering and gambling on it. And I know what they were trying to say. They were trying to make like a statement in there, which is not subtle in here, because she literally looks at them and goes, they're us. We're them and they're us. So, yeah, there's no subtlety to it at all. They come flat out and say it, and yeah, I know that they're trying to make that message about, yeah, man, we're the ones who are really cool. They might be going around killing, but they're mindless monsters. We're doing this for fun, so we're the real monsters. Yeah, I get what you're trying to say, but the lack of subtlety in here really hurt it. But there's one last thing that they do at the end of this that I actually really did kind of enjoy about this one, which is she goes in there, they open up the cellar door, Ben comes out, and he is now a zombie, and they have to kill him, and she's kind of heartbroken over it. But then she starts going upstairs, and then Cooper comes down. Goes, oh, you came back for me. Blam, and she kills him right there and says, put him on the fire. I do kind of like that Cooper, like, got that extra comeuppance in here. I do have to admit, I kind of like that. So there's some stuff in here that I like. As I said when we did our video earlier this week talking about the top 10 horror movie remakes, I put this one at number 10 because, no, it's not better than the original. And the original, because of a weird legal loophole, George Romero and nobody actually owns the copyright to that film. So you can actually watch that legally on YouTube or anywhere else on the internet. So if you've never seen the original, go see the original, man. It's way better. But this one's actually still pretty good. And it's pretty good in that way that, yes, it is very similar to the original, but they do enough stuff that's different. And even the stuff that is similar to the original, a lot of the performances, a lot of the makeup effects in here, a lot of just the little tiny differences make it still worth watching. I do, I'm not giving this one like an enthusiastic thumb up, but yeah, man, check this thing out. It's not bad. But that's it. Thank you guys very much. And starting tomorrow, we have week 3 of the post-Shriek Out reactions, meaning a brand new theme. And I, at the time of this recording, still don't know what that theme is. Because I asked everybody on Patreon to vote on what the theme would be, so by the time this video goes up, I'll have an answer, but I don't know what it is now. So it's either going to be part 3s, horror comedies, or horror documentaries for a very interesting twist on that. But thank you guys for tuning in. Hey, Peach. You're very fascinated with me right now. But thank you guys for tuning in. Come back tomorrow, and happy Halloween.
Bye.
Bye.